Okay, great. Everybody seems to be into the meeting that was in the waiting room, and the meeting is being recorded.
Thank you. I'd like to call to order Borough Council regular meeting of February 17th, 2021. Begin with a roll call.
President Wireman,
Here.
Vice President Cresser,
Here.
Councilmember Delicio,
Here.
Councilmember Ferguson is absent at this time. Councilmember Stevens,
Here.
Mayor Kaler,
Here.
Manager DeFinis.
Here.
I'd like everyone to rise for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of
the United States of
America
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and
justice for all.
Just prior to our invocation, I'd like to take a moment of silence to remember State Senator Stuart Greenleaf, who was a great friend of Hatfield Borough, did many things for us. And of course, we'll always remember at his public events and any parades, the passing out of the Greenleaf candies. So at this time, I'd like everyone just to bow their head for a moment of silence. Thank you kindly. We'll continue with Mr. Stevens and our invocation.
Most merciful God, we thank you for the blessing of this day and for your countless blessings upon us and our community. We thank you for this opportunity to serve our community and ask that you will guide us and give us wisdom in all that we do. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, we had a copy of this evening's agenda, which included a revised bill list that was sent out recently. Have a motion for approval of the agenda for February 17th.
So moved.
The motion.
Motion by Councilor Cresser, second Councilor Delicio. Good, Sal?
Very good.
Okay, thank you. Any other additions, changes to the agenda?
No, John.
Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion's been approved. Next item is the minutes from our January 6th and January 20th meetings for approval tonight.
I'll make a motion for the approval of the minutes.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Cresser, second by Councilor Delicio. Anyone have changes or additions to the minutes? Hearing none, then all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? It's been approved. Move on to our category 3, public input. Anyone wishing to address council, please state your name and address.
At this time, President Wireman, I do not see anybody using the Zoom hand raising function to comment during this period.
Thank you. Continue with our announcements, Mr. DeFinis.
Mike, are you muted?
You're muted, Mike.
Sorry. Herc is scheduled to meet Wednesday, February 24th at 8 a.m. via Zoom. Registration is required. The next Planning Commission meeting is scheduled for March 1st at 7 p.m. via Zoom and in person. Registration is required. Next Borough Council meetings are March 3rd, the workshop, and March 17th, the regular meetings, both scheduled for 7:30 p.m. via Zoom. Registration is required. And just to elaborate, John, on something you had said in the beginning of the meeting previous to the invocation regarding Senator Greenleaf, I'd just like to add a little story about those green leaves he used to hand out. About 20 years ago, we were traveling back from the West Coast, and we got stuck in Dallas almost all night long and returned to Philadelphia at 3 o'clock in the morning. Nothing was open. We got to our car. The only thing to eat were 4 green leaves in the center console. And that's what we ate on the way home from the, after traveling for almost 12 hours to get home from the West Coast. But they were a lifesaver. But many residents of Hatfield and the surrounding communities were grateful for those green leaves that Senator Greenleaf used to hand out.
So true. Thank you. I have one thing I'll just comment here under announcements. And let me see if I can figure out how to do this. There we go. It's a card from Fred. Great big thanks to all of you, dear Borough Council Mayor. Thank you for being a part of my journey to get to this point in my life, in quotes, retirement. And now I can do what I please. Thank you, Fred. So hope everybody got to stop by for a minute or two for the walkthrough. It was well attended, and when things get back to more normal, we will definitely have another gathering that council can all meet and thank Fred in person. Alrighty, item 5 is scheduled public hearing tonight regarding ordinance number 539, amending the Code of Ordinances of the Borough of Hatfield, authorizing the incurrence of non-electoral general obligation debt, the amount of $1,955,000. So we'll call to order and open a hearing, and we'll have Solicitor Harper comment on documents she has reviewed thus far and what the ordinance entails.
Sure, and I gonna put Mike to finish on the stand briefly to explain what the capital project is. But this is a borrowing through the Delaware Regional Finance Committee, which we have used before, and at low rates to do some capital projects around the borough. And I'd like to ask Jamie if she would, when we get the proof of publication, I know it was advertised in the Reporter. When we get the proof of publication, if we can attach that to these minutes, I think that would be helpful as well. So I think, Mike, if you want to add for Borough Council and the public's need what the capital improvements are that this borrowing is going to pay for and how much it is. And then Council President can ask for public comment, and then we're done.
Okay. Give me a second here.
Hey,
So,
Kay, can I ask you a question? Was this called a tax anticipation loan at one time? Is that the same thing?
no, this has nothing to do with a tax anticipation loan.
Okay.
This is a borrowing because of the projects that we have. So and the capital improvement program that the funds are being used for are the Lincoln Avenue Bridge replacement, the Orchard Lane sanitary sewer replacement, the crosswalk project, and then there's the vehicle purchase, and then there was the other not crosswalk, but a sign down by the firehouse, the fire entrance alert sign. So there were 6 major projects or 6 major pieces of financing. And because most of these, all of these projects and grants that we received are reimbursement grants, we're borrowing the money to do the work. And once the work's complete, we will reimburse, we will pay off the loans that we can with the reimbursements from the grants. All right. And then the portion that the borough was obligated to their match for these projects will be for the long term. So if you look at the 2 tranches, for lack of a better term, there's 2 sets of payments. One is, they're both actually leveraged out over 20 years. The one of them is the first one is the Series A, the 2021 Series A is a fixed rate interest rate for 20 years. And that's the portion that the borough is responsible for all those projects, as well as the vehicle, the public works vehicle. The second Series B note is a variable rate note that we will repay the loan with the reimbursements from the grants that we receive once the projects are complete. And in a discussion that I had with the Delaware Valley Regional Finance Authority principal, they have even waived the principal payment for the 2022 year and only are charging us interest for that year in anticipation that we would receive, once the project's done and closed out, we could receive the payment back from the granting agencies and then pay off this loan without having to make any principal payments past 2022. That's the goal.
Right now, Mike, what's the amount of the borrowing?
The total amount of the borrowing is $1,955,000. And that also covers the Delaware Valley origination costs, which were somewhere in the $9,800 range. The insurance that they have to purchase for the loan, the DCED application, and then there's some miscellaneous charges that'll come in, the advertising, and some other legal fees that have to be paid by the borough for Delaware Valley's legal costs. So those costs are $21,500. The projects are $1,933,500.
Right, and Del Val's council had prepared a borrowing certificate for the borough, and is it fair to say that the borough has plenty of borrowing capacity before it needs to ask the voters for any approvals?
Yes, it is fair to say that.
So, President Wireman, that's basically what we have. I think we should take questions from council and or the mayor if he's got any, and then anybody in the audience.
Okay. Floor is open. Anyone have a question we can answer? I have one or two. Now, with this approval this evening, we have to then go to Department of Community and Economic Development within 15 days. So they then need to sign off on this also?
Yeah, and that'll be handled by Del Val, and they have an attorney named Doug Breidenbach, I think, who will handle that.
Okay. And there was one place that talked about maybe having funds on March 1st, but I would assume our goal is going to be to be as close to March 25th for actually funding as possible, I think. We don't have any need for the funds at this time.
Correct.
So I think the first payment was designated for interest.
March 25th of 2022.
Yeah, the interest is prior to that though, right? Yeah. Okay. I just want to be certain that we don't have to take the funds down any sooner than we want to up until that March 25th date. And then secondly, I would recommend that when it is funded, we should have a separate banking account to segregate these monies and then make the disbursements for the projects from that account, or, approved transfer to wherever we're going to make those disbursements. But I think we do want to segregate these funds from, general fund and our other funds. So we should talk about setting up a new bank account.
Well, what we've done in the past, John, is utilized Harleysville Bank for that type of function, and we can set up another priority savings account, business priority savings account at Harleysville, and move the money via resolution as we have in the past.
Correct. Yeah, it's a good idea. Kate, I've got one little technical thing that caught my eye. And
Okay.
I think it's in the loan agreement. Although in the agenda or outline of the table of contents, it looks like it's correct, but I think in the body of the agreement, and I'm sorry, I can't tell you where it talked about the approval from the DCED. It was listed as Exhibit D, and it should be Exhibit E.
That's why they pay the bond lawyer the big bucks. We can make a note of that and let Del Val know tomorrow morning. I don't think it affects the ordinance that you're taking action on tonight.
No. I'm sorry, I should have tried to highlight where I saw that. I know it was in the loan agreement because I looked at that a little more detail.
Well, to be fair, I did want to make sure that you got a chance to review it because your past experience in the banking industry, I thought it would be helpful. So.
Okay.
President Wireman, when you have council is done, there is a citizen on the call that does have a question for a public comment.
I'm pretty sure I covered my couple points. Go ahead, Jamie. You can
Sure.
take that question.
Could you please state your name and address for the record, please?
Yeah, it's Owen Wilcox, 32 East School Street.
Just had two quick questions. One, since solicitor mentioned it, what is the I guess limit of borrowing that would thus trigger I guess voter approval?
It's a calculation based on your annual revenues and the amount of borrowing you've already done, and we're nowhere near it. I don't happen to have it in front of me, probably should, but it's millions and millions of dollars worth of excess capacity. And the limit is a state law limit, so that a municipal government doesn't borrow more than it can afford to pay back.
Okay, yeah, it was just a curiosity thing. And the other question,
Actually, I just found it. I can answer that. It's called a debt statement, one of the documents that has to be submitted. And currently we have two other obligations, notes outstanding. One going back to 2003 for $802,000. The second being what we just refinanced for the municipal building project, along with some of the other debt that was involved with that borrowing. That's $3,640,000. So it was $4,442,000 currently, and then this additional $1,955,000 brings us up to $6,397,000. And our non-actorial debt capacity is $18,934,165. So our available is over 12 million.
Oh, and does that answer your question? Non-electoral means you don't need to go to the voters for approval.
yeah, that answers. Thank you for that.
Okay.
And then the second question I had, so the projects were listed and the manager read them out. Without, you don't need to answer this. I'm assuming the actual projects amounts for each of those can be just found in the recently adopted budget. Is that correct?
Yes.
And they're publicly bid projects. So you're a regular attendee at the meetings. You probably will hear about them when the bids are open.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Largest portion being the Lincoln Avenue Bridge was in excess of $1,200,000, I believe.
1,255,000.
Thank you.
So if there are no more questions, Mr. Chairman, you can close the hearing, and this will be on the agenda later for action.
Any further questions, comments? Hearing none, hearings hereby closed. Okay. Turn the page, old business discussion items. We have the first item, 43 Roosevelt Avenue preliminary land development resolution. And the solicitor prepared this for us.
Yeah, I would just point out, it's got a lot of conditions, but it is preliminary, and the law has been that if you don't specify at preliminary something you're going to ask for later, there's a question as to whether or not you can ask for it. So I went overboard in including all the things that will be required after final, like a developer's agreement and things like that. I'm also surprised I don't see anybody here representing the developer. Is anybody here, Jamie?
No, they are not this evening.
Okay. This is one
And-
for action course, they were here last time and I don't know when the extension runs out, but you should take action on it unless there's a serious problem, even though they're not here.
And one of the things, Kate, that Borough Council may want to consider is the Montgomery County Planning Commission review is not complete. And I know that's one of the things that they were waiting for as well for the packet. So that has not been complete. And even though we do have it on as an action item, that can be tabled because of that issue.
I agree with that analysis. I thought I said something about contingent on comments from the planning commission, but it's actually probably better to wait for the comments unless we need an extension of time, Mike, and I don't know when it actually runs out.
We were given an extension of time on the project when there was a delay with they submitted a plan and we all sat down together.
Right.
They had given us an extension of time at that time.
So that allows Borough Council to discuss it tonight and decide whether you want to go ahead with it or not. It does say, and any comments of the Montgomery County Planning Commission, but if they, you never know, if they make a comment that would radically change the plan, then that's going to be tough to do. It'd be unusual if they made such a comment, but not unheard of.
So at our last meeting, when they were presenting and we were going over the plans, I think at that time, and according to our professional and engineers' letters, the last revised plans were this December 21st, 2020 date, or have they been changed since that time with Bursage's letters? And I just want to make certain that we have the last date reference for the plans.
Well, the preliminary plan that they gave us was updated during the planning commission and the Borough Council. It wasn't submitted, but you saw the updated version. That's going to be their submission for their final.
Okay.
Those things that we addressed regarding the parking. And then further things that will be addressed on the final are the things that we addressed with the street trees.
There are a couple of waivers that you may want to ask Borough Council to think about. Just to make sure you don't have a problem with that. They're on the second page of the draft resolution, A, B, and C, 3 waivers. They were recommended by the engineer, but they might be something you want to think about. And these would be waivers of the subdivision ordinance.
And one of those issues, the first one, the site triangle, was because of the fact that it's a dead end road. And removing those trees from the front yard will help with those site triangles. And then the second one, for the individual shared driveways and parking areas, that was also a recommendation from the engineer that was not a major waiver. And then the stormwater issue, they're going to actually contain, each property is going to contain its own stormwater. And the engineers were confident they could work that out with the final plan.
Okay. Any other questions, council?
And I believe since they're working on that final plan, for this to wait until and putting it on the March 3rd agenda and hopefully having that Montgomery County Planning Commission letter by that time is not extraordinary. It's not out of the ordinary.
Sounds good, yes.
Yep.
Not like they're gonna be moving any ground in the next couple weeks.
No,
Okay, so if we're gonna do that, the other thing I was thinking might be helpful, Mike, is we probably should, if we're gonna put it on the March 3rd or the regular meeting in March, we probably should tell the developer after tonight so that they are prepared for it, you know?
will do.
Okay, thank you. Item B is a revised 2021 roadway resurfacing project schedule.
Due to some comments that we were waiting back from PennDOT, our PennDOT contact on the bid specs, we did not advertise this immediately after the meeting because we're still waiting on those comments. Once we received the comments back from our representative, Chad was able to incorporate his comments into the bid specs, and then the bid specs were advertised, and that's why there was a delay in the advertisement. And they also were pushed back the bid opening as well.
Okay. Looks fine, thank you. There was nothing scheduled under the new business category. Prepared to move forward with a couple action items. Motion to consider the approval of ordinance number 539, amending the code of ordinances of the Borough of Hatfield, authorizing for the incurrence of non-electoral general obligation debt in the amount of $1,955,000.
Make a motion on that.
I'll second it.
Motion by Counselor Cresser, second by Counselor Ferguson. Any other questions? Not all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion's been approved. And then item B, we're recommending to have a motion just to table this item.
So moved.
Second.
And I think that's all it takes. Doesn't require a vote with it being tabled. And as stated, we'll look to have that on the March 3rd agenda. And I believe there was a revised bill list. There's the additions with the AMP bill coming in, along with HTMA. Yeah, a couple nice friendly numbers.
They are.
Any questions on what was in the packet or the additional list? So we need the motion first, motion for approval of payment of the bills.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Ferguson, second by Counselor Cresser. Questions on the bill list? Want to go back to the additions, please? No questions? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion's been approved. Thank you.
Motion to
And do
adjourn.
we have executive scheduled.
Yes, we do.
Second that.
Heard a motion for adjournment.
I'll second it.
Very good. Thank you.
Last meeting.
Thank you.
That's the way the regular meetings are supposed to go for the most part, right? Very good.